Welcome back to AHRK Encounter. I'm your host Melanie, and I'm so excited to walk on this AHRK path with you. We will continue our discussion on overcoming distraction through the lens of communication. I'm excited to hear today from our special guest how we can utilize our communication skills to overcome distraction. Our guide today, Bernard Bachoura, will take us along this journey where we will encounter a special guest near and dear to him. Now let's get started on the AHRK path with this quick video.
AHRK is the lifestyle path to better choices. It empowers us to live life to the fullest and paves the way for people like you and me to discover our unique purpose and passion. Choosing to walk the AHRK path invites transformation and growth in 5 key areas of life: leadership, communication, mindset, community, and lifestyle. As we dive into these lenses, they redirect our focus and guide us into a deeper understanding of where we're at today and where we're going tomorrow. This is AHRK Encounter.
And welcome to AHRK Encounter. My name is Bernard Bachoura, and today we're going to be talking about this amazing conversation of distractions, the conversation that's touching all of our lives right now. And today we have a specific lens that we're going after, which is communications. So again, a lot of our communications are internal, are external, but they're being surrounded by so many other conversations and distractions that are just endless. And so we had to search really hard to find the perfect person to talk about this. And I found the most amazing guest, and of course she happens to be dear to me, as Melanie said. Her name is Natalya Bachoura. So welcome, Natalya.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad. Well, Natalya happens to be my daughter and my eldest. And it's one of the things that's interesting about that is that I've been communicating with her all of my life, and she's been communicating tremendously since she was young. And so I want to take credit for all of it, but sadly I can't. And that's really the communication journey, is that each of us we have a different skill set in life, and things that we value, things that shape us, and they shape us in different ways. And so in Natalya, this is not only her VIP, it's her values, her identity, her purpose are so anchored in communication that I think she's a perfect guest for this. So thank you for joining us. Today, before we get started, I just want to remind all of you is that we choose our guests based on the authority level that they bring to the conversation. And Natalya's skill set in this is one of those unarguable facets of life. It's one of those things that she lives in, and she lives throughout her community, this concept of communications. And of course, distraction is one of the things that she combats, as we all do. The next facet of Natalya's strength is this unshakable hope that she has about this conversation. Is that she's determined to overcome. She's determined to be clear and to be heard with clarity. And of course, undeniable. Her love for her community, her love for expression is amazing, because she goes to a wide extent, really she uses all the tools and resources at her disposal to communicate and love unto others. And these are some of the values that here on the AHRK path that we hold in high esteem, and that's why Natalya was selected today. So let's start by giving us an insight. I know you're studying communications, and it's your major, and you're about to graduate soon. And so, what was that journey of why you decided to study communications?
Yeah, I think for me, communication has always been something that I found super interesting. I remember that one time when I was randomly looking things up, I found that I think it's like 7% of communication is verbal and the rest isn't. So when you think of that, it's like, wow, that's so many other facets that come into your communication. And I've always loved to read. Reading has been something that I've spent so much of my time in, reading all sorts of genres and types of things. And that was just a huge part of my childhood, and even now I continue to read. And I think being able to explore how authors communicate different things, being able to explore their word choice. And I know it's like the nitty gritty, but I've always loved the little things about how one word can make a huge difference and how they communicate their story, their book, their plot, whatever it may be. So I think communication has always just been so interesting to me, and how there are so many different things that can kind of make us perceive things differently based on one word or one thought, one facial expression, whatever it may be.
Changes the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that it just kind of, even as you say that 7% of our communication is verbal, and then the 93% is non, but 100% of our communication happens internally. We really internalize the thoughts and the desires and the choices, and really communication is just the expression of that. So in your experience and in your journey, and I know you, because you said you read a lot, you contemplate life. At what point do you decide to share that? There's so much that's happening with you all the time within your communities. At what point do you go, I need to share that, communicate that out, and express that out?
And do you just mean communicating like my thoughts, what's internal?
Your thoughts, yeah. I mean, you read a lot of stuff. You know, you read 500 things, and you go, oh, this one I have to share. Or we're trying to get to a place where we push off the distractions, but more importantly is, what do we focus on? You have so many thoughts that you have throughout the day. What is that choice that allows you to express, going, I want to share this with someone?
No, absolutely. I think especially it happens when I find something that really inspires me in what I'm reading or what I'm watching, what I'm hearing, even in our communication between us when we have our long conversations. When there's some thought that inspires something in me, that's, I think, what triggers that from going only an internal kind of contemplation to finding someone to share that with. Because I've never been too much of an external processor. I really like to process internally, write things down, kind of explore on my own. But sometimes a thought is so overwhelming or exciting or different, or like someone else has to hear this, that, you know, it's important to go and find someone to talk about it with, or find a way to communicate that, whether it's something I think can change someone else's life or it's something that's changed mine and I want to share, whatever it may be. I think there are certain things that just inspire me to flip that and start sharing it.
That's amazing. And I think that's the invitation to our viewers is that, as you know, whether you process externally, you process internally, there's different ways to do it. There comes a point where you just have to, there's something inside of you that is exciting. Sharing that with your friends, with your community, your coworkers becomes critical, because there's a would you say there's like self-satisfaction in sharing that moment? So again, it's how do we get to that point? How do we encourage others? As you've mentored many young people, you've done a lot of small classes for younger kids, older kids as well. How do you encourage them to express themselves? As you know, kids are challenging in every ways. So why don't you help us with that journey?
Yeah, I think for me, whoever I'm interacting with, whether it's younger cousins or just friends, other people in my life, there are often times when I even find myself doing this. You kind of pull back and isolate in different ways. You kind of find a way to get caught up in your thoughts and what's going on and the distractions of, I don't know, as a college student right now, I'm trying to balance spending time with family, spending time at school, spending time with my friends, making sure I do well in school and get those grades. And there are 1,000 things you want to have fun doing, and all these different things you're balancing. So you can kind of get caught up in your own little cycle, your own kind of isolated bubble. And it becomes hard at that moment, I think, sometimes to communicate. You forget to communicate what you're feeling, what's going on in your life, and you forget to invite others into that. So I think for me, what I often try to do in my interaction with other people is just to kind of see where they're at and kind of draw them back in, to ask them what's on their heart and what's going on and what's on their mind these days and what's getting them excited. And I think by having conversations like that, where you ask other people what they're passionate about and what's on their heart, you can push those distractions aside that have been isolating you or getting you kind of caught up and distracted, and really help you to be present in life and interact with others and kind of have that communication be a two-way street rather than just an internal process going on and on.
I love that. I love how you captured that. To really live into this communication reality is to draw people into a conversation with them, get them to focus on being intimate and connected. But really pushing out, as they do that, they almost have to push out the distractions. So it's almost like a two-way process where you're focused on them, you engage them, and in doing that, it pushes off. But what about you? I mean, hey, you know, we've all been in this conversation. Well, I want to have a conversation with you, but I want to start. Let me just tell you what's going on with me. And the reality is that doesn't really happen. So when when is it about Natalya? I know that, I went there because I love that. I think people need to hear that, because it's to recognize that I'm gonna connect with you, and you're gonna refocus, push off the distractions so you can connect with me. I think it's powerful in helping people. So tell me, how do you push off the distractions to be bold and really come after me and your friends to initiate that conversation?
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've been working on a lot in my own life, just because I think it can be so easy to want to serve other people or not want to be taken off as, oh, I'm always talking about myself or bringing up my life or stuff like that. So kind of walking that line and figuring out, what does it look like to put myself out there rather than be that quiet person in the corner or whatever it is. And I think where it started with me is finding those key people that I can go to have that communication with, and finding those people that I know challenge me and support me and show me what it looks like to be part of the community and not just invite others into community myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think having those people kind of helped pave the way to me being more confident in being able to do that with anyone around me, whether that's someone I'm really close to or someone I'm just meeting. To be able to open up about my life and invite them into it has become easier as I've found those people that have anchored me and I know I can go to for support in different ways.
Love that. And then you jumped us up on the AHRK path of acknowledgement. It's recognizing that if I don't get on the AHRK path and communicate with others, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to isolate, and that doesn't go well for very long. And so that acknowledgement, going, I need this. I'm going to begin with a small community and stretch myself and with them, and then grow from there. I love that. I think that's very helpful for our viewers to be able to see that. But let's bring it back to, you didn't get there overnight. So that acknowledgement required some healing, because we all go through that. Is this concept of I just need to heal this reality that it's not about I wasn't born with this communication skill set, even though out of everybody that I know, she was probably born with that skill set because she had it from early on in her life. But you still needed healing in that, and so share with us, how do you heal from that, from not being heard, not being people not being intentional in listening, which is even more painful.
No, absolutely. I think for me that journey has been a lot about finding ways to reflect and process rather than hiding it, because I think it can be easy to ignore things or push things deep down and kind of hide them when you feel like you've been hurt. And I think something I find myself kind of struggling with a lot is figuring out, like, okay, it's not their problem if I feel hurt. So then how do I deal with that? But I think once I started kind of acknowledging that, like we said, and facing that head on and finding ways to talk about and discuss the ways that I've felt hurt in different places when it comes to communication and feeling heard and being present and acknowledged in our interactions, I think I've been able to move forward in that. So whether that's journaling and kind of processing on my own and kind of writing out, I love writing letters to people sometimes, like when I feel like things have been hard to process or if I felt not heard, writing letters has helped me a lot to kind of work through my different thoughts and stuff like that. And just kind of work through those different feelings that come, so that when I think about them, those aren't pain points in my life that continually come back, because it's easy for lies and different things to kind of drag you down and make you feel like, oh, no one wants to listen to me, my thoughts aren't relevant, my thoughts aren't valuable, stuff like that. But pushing that all aside and kind of being able to focus on what's true and present and talk to people you love who love you and lift you up again, I think.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And you described the distractions. And what's funny is that distraction tells you, well, you're hurt, so disconnect. The distraction of, why don't you get busy doing something else? And the only way to be unhurt, to heal, is to really go through that concept of, I just want to reach out to someone that's going to love me right now. I'm going to reach out to that person that I have some, whether it's contention or misunderstanding, I'm going to reach out to them and engage them, which takes a tremendous amount of courage. I think it's that's one of the things that I've always seen in you. Again, you don't just charge in like some people I know, but you kind of take your time and you contemplate things, and I love that. I think you've done that very successfully, and I think that brings a tremendous amount of hope for our viewer, is that there is a way to heal that those pain points of communication in our lives. Let's move us along the path to restoration. I think I've seen you on the healing part. I've seen you on the restoration, and of course on the kingdom to come. But you've mastered restoration. It's like a boxer that keeps getting punched and they fall down, then they get back up, and it's not a place that I like to see you, but that's life. You're in community with so many people. You have a vast community, and so there's so many distractions in community today, and so someone that is a communicator is going to be impacted by all the distractions. But you seem to get back on the horse, that restoration reality, and do you have that awareness? That you have the ability to go through this AHRK path reality of healing and then walk into that restoration. You do it very efficiently and effectively. Do you have that awareness?
I don't know. That's an interesting thought. And I guess to an extent I do. Like I know I have a lot of hope in a lot of different areas. And because of that, even when I feel like hurt or down or like I'm struggling with something, I know like there's no doubt in my mind that I'll get back up. So I think to that extent, I have that awareness, but it's interesting to hear from someone else what that looks like in your own life.
Yeah, we're going to say that to our viewer. I think there's so much in this, and I hope you're getting all of it. But it's just this concept of how do you find restoration? Because this idea that to stay hurt does you no good. I mean, it doesn't help society at all, because hurt just builds on hurt, and restoration just gets us all back to a place where we have hope, where we honor each other and care for each other. But it requires this concept of communication and a pushing off the distractions, the busyness that we surround ourselves with, so we can not face the hurt that's in us. And as I've seen Natalya go through this concept of restoration, it's really encouraged me tremendously. I just have to tell you, it's something that I don't do it as fast as you do. I don't do it as efficiently as you do. But I love watching how you model it, and it's critical. So I celebrate that, and I hope you do as well. Yeah. But we keep moving on the AHRK path because it's so much fun. We get to this kingdom reality of communication, where you're clear, you're intentional, you're heard, you're being heard. What does it look like at a perfect kingdom communication moment for you? You can tell us a story or just a kind of a thought of what does it look like?
Interesting. I think for me, that moment looks like, I don't want to say everything's going right because that sounds kind of cheesy, but in the sense that when you're communicating, it can be hard. We said something like 7% of what you say counts as communication, and the other half is other things.
She's probably 14, but we'll leave that for later.
No, but it's just about like when I'm saying something, who knows how much of it people are getting. So to be able to know that whether it's with someone I'm really close to or with a stranger, to be able to have a really good conversation about something and know that I was heard and know that I heard them and that we understand each other and have that connection. Whether it's about books, I love talking about books, and when I find someone who's read the same book as me, and to be able to like dive into a conversation and really communicate about our thoughts that come up with it, whether that's something that is completely out of this world or something that is very directly about the plot and the characters, whatever it is, to be able to communicate about it and have a real conversation, and that just builds so much joy in me. That's so celebratory to know that you can have a real conversation, be true to your feelings, be true to whatever you're talking about, and connect with someone, know their heart, know their ideas, know their passions, and know that you walk with each other through that.
I love that. I'm going to summarize that because I love it. So a kingdom communication moment is when you find someone that seemingly has read the same book or thinks like you do. Mm-hmm. And to have that intimacy, that connection, that communication where your thoughts and desires flow. They don't have to be the same. They just need to flow and be aligned. That's a kingdom communication moment. Mm-hmm. And I just almost, even as you were communicating that, as I saw, like the distractions all melted away. Mm-hmm. There was really no distractions in that moment. And that's that kingdom reality of, as we communicate with each other, is how do we find that common ground between each other and just focus on that, pushing off the rest of the world, pushing off the distractions of the world, and having that true, genuine, intimate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you did amazing with that, and I love how you capture that. So I want to thank you for that. Yeah. So Natalya and I have this game where every time she goes to a public or even a family event, it's a little bit harder with family event, where she has to go to a total stranger and have a complete fun and connected conversation. And so if that happens to be you, you just won $1 million because she's amazing. Okay, I just have to tell you guys. But it's something that we do, and we I want to encourage you to push out of your comfort zone and find those people out there that you just don't know their story. Just go find out their story, and it's just amazing what you're going to find and celebrate, because that's what we do on the AHRK Path. It's about community, it's about learning, it's about connection, and it's about communication. When you get to that point, find that someone that you go, I wonder what their story is, or I bet the fun story they have. So we want to hear your story. I want to hear your story. So share with us. Come share this with somebody else, someone that you want to communicate with, and let's all have a communication on the AHRK Path, because it's so much fun. So thank you, Natalya, for joining us. I can't wait to talk about this and watch it and reflect on it, because it's going to be so much fun. You guys, you know that, right? So have an amazing day, and hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was good.
Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. I loved watching the dynamic of this discussion. A line that stuck out to me was that our communication is actually just our internal thoughts that we're expressing. And if you'd like to learn more about what you heard today, you can visit our website at www.arcpath.com. What are you waiting for? Follow us on social media at AHRKpath. Check out our podcast featuring the talented Natalya Bachoura and Casey Cox. And you can download the Circles Now app for more course content with packages launching soon. Thank you for tuning in to AHRK Encounter, and we'll see you on the next one.